Well, I don't think we all expected that from last night, but let's see what happened between the Titans and the Steelers. Let's go around the first quarter where both of them traded off field goals. And the question on the Steelers was they haven't been a really good team on the road. And the question last night was, can they overcome the Titans? Because the Titans aren't really that good this year. They've given up 30 plus points per each game this season. They played 5 games already, so definitely not a good time for the defense. And also, Big Ben, after it was 3-3, threw an 82-yard touchdown to Mike Wallace, making it 10-3. It was more of the same for the Titans' defense. At least it looked like it from that play. And then the Titans would only respond with a 38-yard field goal by Baronis and 10-6. And then the Titans were able to block the punt on the Steelers in the second quarter, which set up a 1-yard Jamie Harper touchdown run since Chris Johnson's couldn't. It's still too far for Chris Johnson to run it in. But I will say Chris Johnson had probably his second best game of the season in terms of stats and how he ran. But it was 13-10 Titans, and then they would end up getting a field goal before halftime, making it 16-10. And then the third quarter was pretty much a defensive standoff. Only 3 points were scored, and that was by the Steelers cutting it to 3. And then the Steelers started to score a 1-yard touchdown run to Baron Batch, the backup, one of the backups for Rashard Mendenhall. Mendenhall struggled heavily today. He would only have 6 carries, 6 yards, and 1 catch, 11 yards. So someone else needed to carry the workload, and Batch was apparently the best option they had that day because he had 10 carries, 22 in the touchdown. That was their best rusher for today. Made it 20-16. Then Matt Hasselbeck follows that drive with an interception, and it sets up for a 52-yarder by Sean Schwism, and it made it 23-16. And then Matt Hasselbeck had to drive down the field. It would get a pass interference call on third down and short, which set up for a first and goal, and it made up a couple plays later. Kenny Britt gets the touchdown, making it 23-all. And then Big Ben would have a chance. I mean, they were completing passes, and they set it up for a 54-yarder. And I know Sean Schwism hasn't made a field goal, or he hasn't missed a field goal all year. And he shanked it. Or actually, he didn't shank it. It was just too short. It was right between the lines, but it didn't go through the lines. That was the problem. And he missed it, and now you give Matt Hasselbeck short field position, and they were able to drop far enough for Robert Runs to kick a 40-yarder and win the game. So the Titans shocked the Steelers 26-23. Bad loss for the Steelers. This could be a good opportunity to pick up a road win, and they just dig themselves a hole. And I think, to me, I would have punted on that play. Because I know Schwism hasn't missed a field goal all season, but it's still, you run the risk of a 54-yard with so much time on the clock. And I think, and if you punt it away, Hasselbeck has to drive farther. And their offense has really been, their offense is clicking better today than they have been pretty much the whole season, with the exception of the Lions game. But I think the better option would have been to punt it away and use the defense to force overtime and then try to win the game there. But that's just me, and maybe I'm just a defensive-minded person. I don't know. But that's what I would have done. But either way, the Titans pull the upset, and the Steelers are now 2-3, and they're going to face the Bengals on the road on Sunday Night Football next week. The Titans, meanwhile, they face the Buffalo Bills at Buffalo, a team who's been struggling as well. So that could be a good matchup between the two. Now you ask the question: are the Steelers in trouble? I mean, they are now 2-3 for the season, 2-0 at home, and the second home win came on a last-second field goal against the Eagles. That was pretty impressive, though, because the Eagles are one of the better teams in the league. But you got to look at it as we got to look at the schedule. The first game against Denver. All right, I know you're missing some players, and I know the Steelers are missing some players now, even. Because Troy Polamalu and Lamar Woodley didn't play, but I still think they could have pulled a win last night, but they just couldn't come together. And as we look at the schedule so far, we see they lost to Denver. I could kind of understand that. I mean, Peyton Manning's emotional first game back. I mean, I understand that one. The game against the Jets, well, they won that one, so they played how they should, even without James Harrison. The slip up against the Raiders is what sticks out to me, and as I look at the Steelers' schedule, they got to face the Bengals on the road, and the Bengals they're 3-2, and they're still not someone you push over considering it's a division rival. Then they got the Redskins. I think they can win that game. Then they got go on the road against the Giants. That will be a tough one. Then they have a Monday nighter against Kansas City, and Kansas City's struggling, so that's a good chance for a win. And then they face Baltimore, and then remember they haven't even faced Baltimore once this season yet. So, and then they face Baltimore, then at Cleveland, then at Baltimore, then San Diego, and then they go to at home against San Diego. Then they're at Dallas, and then their last two games are at home against the Bengals and Browns. So I think the Steelers they have a decent schedule, but they got to pull it together really quickly, or otherwise a chance for the playoffs will get out of hand pretty quickly. And they need all the wins they can get to keep up with the Ravens and even the Bengals for the AFC North. I mean, it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh. I think they can overcome it, but it's just a matter of how healthy they can get all those players back, and go from there. But that's all for today. Be sure to come back Sunday for my noon, afternoon, and night recaps.